Alice Blackfilm TV. Hello, folks. How's it going?
Hello.
What's up, bro?
When I saw this movie, there's a lot that's packed into this movie, but one thing that stands out is how loving this couple was on screen, and we don't get to see that often, even whether it's the past or the present. So, for both of you, Christina, how much did you know about Daisy going into this outside of what the script said?
I didn't know the story of Jesse. I didn't know anything about the Korean War, and I didn't know Daisy. And so in reading the script, I remember I sat there for quite a minute. The first time you see Daisy in this script, she's described as Jesse's anthem and his heartbeat.
Mm.
And that's something that the audience doesn't see, but I see it as the actress. And it was something I was like, okay, this is how I'm being introduced to her. There's something to that. And so I didn't know much. But now she's been with me since I've rapped. I'll say that. Every day or every other day, she's revealed herself to me.
And for you, Jonathan, you're playing a father, a husband, a pilot, a colleague, all in one film. How did you decide to play that in terms of working with JD, and how, every scene is different from the other?
That's right. I mean, it's funny. I'll just say this. Me and JD, every weekend, as we were shooting it, we'd sit and go to the park, and we say, okay, all right, what crayons haven't we used yet? What colors of emotion, of action, of character have we not shown yet? And we sit and we look at the work coming, and I would say, how about this? And this, and then this can't be this because I'm gonna do this here. I know that, and this and this. And so we would go through. I'm glad you picked up on that, because we would go through and just say, we're gonna color it this color now, and this now. And of course it's an improvisation on the day, and I'm pretty wily on set, so I don't really know what's gonna happen, but I do know what needs to happen. So
once you're in it, you see.
Yeah, once you kind of roll. And the beauty of that was, one thing I did know stepping into this role is that I wasn't gonna make this some stoic, tropic black hero. You know what I mean? I was trying to show something that really was truthful to us as a culture. And the biggest thing is that we are not a monolith, and so every scene you get a different color, a different taste, a different emotion of Jesse. You think he's going this way, he goes that way. You think he's going this way, he's going that way. And if Jesse can, in his, in the 2 hours and 11 minutes of a film, show you these many different sides to this, black hero, I mean, that's gonna put a spotlight on our experience at large, for the culture, I believe.
There's not. I didn't know about Jesse Brown as well, and what do you guys want for people to know? Because obviously, as we grow up and we take history in our classes, there are only so many names that we don't hear about. That we need a film like this to go back to the books, to go to Wikipedia or whatever, to start learning about who are these other individuals that led and paved the way for others to be where they are now. So for each of one of you, what do you want coming out of this in terms of when people see this movie? Christina?
I want people to feel connected. I want people to feel informed. I want them to be inspired to go out, and there is no expectation of people telling us our stories. They don't have to. Go out and find them. Spend the time and learn more each day about the stories and the things and the people that you didn't know before. That's it.
Wicked. I mean, just now sitting, listening, amen to that, of course. And perhaps, I think it's within our culture lately, we say their names.
Yeah.
Say their names. I mean, George Floyd, and what does that do? That reminds us of the hurt, speaking truth to power, we're reminds us we've got work to do, there's things to be done, look after each other, I want them to say Jesse's name, and Jesse, that should give an equal frequency of emotion, right? Say Jesse Brown, conjure him up, when you're feeling afraid. Jesse Brown did it. You know what I mean? Martin Luther King did it. X did it. Jackie Robinson did it. Harriet Tubman did it. Rosa Parks did it. We have another superhero now, And when you say Jesse Brown, you conjure Daisy, you conjure this experience, you conjure this love, you conjure this hero. I rarely say I want folks to take something from a film.
Right.
I think it's always, up to them. But his name, and therefore his experience should be on the tip of your tongue and allow that to give you power.
Well said. Congratulations both. Take care.
Thank you. Have a
Peace.
great day.
Rouse from Black Film TV. Hey, folks, how's it going?
Hey, man, how are you?
Good. Coming into this, how much of a deep dive did you guys do outside of reading the script for the roles that you're playing? Is it a composite of other characters, or were these characters real? Thomas?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, these are real men, and there was no mistaking the work that needed to be done in terms of getting to know who they were. It's the book provided a lot of information. Adam Makos, who wrote the book, had even more available to him, but then he also had the ability to get us in touch with the families, and so we got to know these families of the men that we're playing, and getting to really get in touch with the families, the legacy, all of that that's a pretty deep dive, and it was really instructive in terms of making sure we knew how serious it was and how much of an honor and responsibility it was to take on these roles.
Absolutely. There's a lot of material that we got to dive into and obsess over and learn about their families and friends and speak to some of the individuals that are still with us. And that was really important.
Now, Joe, did you do any of the training like we see in the movie, or is this all CGI?
Well, there was real planes that they brought. I think there was only about 11 of them left in the world that these military were using back when, and they got them there. I mean, we got helicopters from museums. It was pretty trippy and intimidating to be in front of these beasts. You can walk up and you're just like, okay, it gets bigger and bigger as you get closer and closer, and just getting used to walking in and climbing in and out of these planes. So it obviously looks the part, but we also don't eat shit when we fall off of them
or break them. I mean, these are museum pieces. You can't as a movie, we could not have afforded to break these planes. Right. So the training was very much about and then you put your foot here and then you put your foot here. Okay, now do that 35 times, before we move on to getting inside the actual plane.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, not too many of us got up in the air into the vomit comet sort of situation, but
we're not heartbroken about that.
Yeah, not too heartbroken.
Thomas, Dick is not your ordinary leader in terms of we expect these leaders to be yelling all the time, getting these guys in shape. He was more like a friend at times. Was that in the book, or was that something you added in there?
My understanding of who Dick Savoli was is that this is how he led his men. He was not a guy who was going to get out there, get in anybody's face, belittle anybody. That in quite the opposite. That he was a man who was driven by love for family, and he treated his squadron like family. He treated them like they were his sons. He treated them with respect, every single one of them with respect and dignity, and asked for the best from them because he knew what it took. He knew how good they were. And I think that he was actually a leader way ahead of his time. And the thing to remember about VF-32 is that these guys were the best of the best. I mean, they were the best aerial wing in the Navy a couple of years running. And it's, I think, in no small part to the fact that Savoli was a really great leader. I think because he was one of the guys.
Yeah,
he just happened to be a little bit older.
And what about you, Joe? What led you to take on this particular project and playing the part of Marty? Did you see anything in him and yourself?
I mean, I think Marty was the guy who liked to break up the tension in the room at times, and he had the creds to be able to do that. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. You think of a football team almost in a situation where there's intensity in the locker room, and one guy makes a joke and everyone laughed, even though they lost the game. I think Marty was able to make people kind of smile in difficult times, and so sometimes I think I can be like that. I'm so glad I got to know him during this process and know his family. And I've met a few of them, and the fact that they've seen the film, they're going to see the film, it means a lot.
Congratulations on this film. Congratulations on the roles. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Morales and Blackman TV. Hey, JD, how's it going?
We meet again, brother. How are you?
Good, good. You know, this is your first big film after doing 2 other films previously. How much did you learn technically, you know, while completing this film, not only telling the story, but the shots and everything else?
You know, look, you hope you grow a little bit on each movie, and you know, I've started keeping a list while I work, things I want to make sure I always do again, and things I want to make sure I never do again. And part of that is just because I feel like the process is so fast and it's so intense that sometimes, unless you're really being intentional, you may sort of like skip past things that you want to remember. So, you know, Devotion was certainly a jump in scope and scale, but I have to say when you're telling a story by way of just wanting to tell the truth, it's actually not that disorienting, at least in the case of this film. You know, what I wanted to say and the characters that I wanted to explore were kind of so clear from the beginning that the jump in scope was all in service of telling a better story. So I'm grateful that it didn't feel too weird.
You know, this movie is very emotional. You're telling the story of 2 characters here. Obviously, you want to pay tribute to both men while also bringing in other characters. You didn't write it, but how much did you work with the writer in terms of whose story we're telling and incorporating the other characters in there? So it's a more of an ensemble piece, although we know it's the story of these 2 individuals.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things I did when I came aboard was to sort of put my feedback into the script and work with our writers for sort of an initial revision. But as we came closer to actually shooting the film, I identify as a writer first and foremost, and it was just a natural part of the process where I would actually have to go into the script and kind of lens the movie through my point of view. And part of that was actually, digging deeper and deeper into Jesse and the Browns, and just making sure that the story that I really connected to in Jesse, the story that, I saw my own father in Jesse, I wanted to extract even more of that. So, as a writer director, even though Jake and Jonathan started with an incredible foundation of a script, as it came time to shoot the film, I really had to make sure that, I could see Jesse personally.
And did you work with Jonathan and Glenn in terms of what they're bringing into the table, especially Glenn, considering he had just done, Top Gun and previously also played a pilot in Hidden Figures?
Yeah, I mean, so much of the revision process is born out of your conversations with the actors, and the script is the initial blueprint for what we're going to do here. But things start to change when your actors move to location, and you go on these walks and you're exploring the character and you're having conversation about theme and feeling and tension, and you realize that's the sort of the subject of these conversations needs to find its way back into the script. So it is sort of part of the natural process of collaborating where you start with something, but as more voices are added to the mix, as you're unable to earth more from other people's points of view, you want to make sure that's represented in the story, and that was really fun to do with Jonathan, Glenn, and Christina for their respective characters, and just make sure that at every point we had really like litigated every scene, every interaction and every feeling, and make sure that we're doing our job to put that on the screen.
What did you learn about Jesse Brown outside of what you did? Did you get more out of it as you were filming, in terms of working with the family to incorporate in the movie?
I think one of the most fun things that we learned about Jesse through the process of just, continuing to dig into the real characters was actually how funny he was, and it became a piece that Jonathan and I talked a lot about because, in a film like this, we don't want to just hold Jesse in this you know, stoic, long-suffering light, but we want to see the breadth and the spectrum of his personality. And what everyone in his family would tell us was that he was hilarious. So we wanted to make sure that obviously he wouldn't show that to Tom without trusting him, but as that relationship starts to open up, and also obviously when we see Jesse at home, we get taste of that personality, we get taste of that sort of, you know, unabashed humor and joy. So that was just, even though it is like, you know, about soldiers and with the backdrop of a conflict, we wanted to make sure that we could also show that Jesse was funny.
Congratulations on this role. I mean, on this film. Congrats on the growth. I look forward to seeing what you do next.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Always good to talk to you.
Take care.
All right, see you soon.